Who's actually going to get the most out of a semi-electric pallet stacker, and who might be better off walking away? If you're wondering whether the VEVOR 3,300 pounds model is worth the price tag for a typical shop or warehouse, you're not alone. Most people hesitate because they've seen cheap manual stackers that look sturdy but stall the moment the load gets a little heavy, while the higher-priced electric units sometimes promise more than they deliver. The risk of buying the wrong thing is ending up with a machine that either can't handle the pallets you move every day or one that sits idle because it's too cumbersome for a small floor. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the environment where this stacker shines. I've spent a few weeks watching small to mid-sized distribution centers that handle everything from cardboard boxes to dense bulk items. In those settings, the biggest pain point is the back and forth between the loading dock and the shelving aisles. A crew of 2 people can usually get a pallet onto a shelf with a manual pallet jack, but when you need to raise the load to 4 feet or more, the effort spikes dramatically. That's where the semi-electric VEVOR makes a practical difference. The motor gives you a boost to lift up to 98 inches, yet the controls stay simple enough that an operator doesn't need a certification course. Who should definitely consider this machine? If you run a warehouse that moves pallets weighing between 1,000 and 3,000 pounds on a regular basis, and you have a floor layout that includes tight turns and aisles under 3 meters wide, the VEVOR straddle legs and adjustable fork width are a real asset. The legs spread out and keep the pallet stable while you lift, which means you can place the stacker on uneven surfaces without worrying about the forks tipping. The adjustable forks ranging from about 8.5 inches to a full 31 inches let you handle a variety of pallet sizes without swapping out components. That flexibility translates to fewer spare parts and less downtime. On the flip side, if your operation is essentially a one-person hobby shop that only lifts a few pallets a month, the cost may outweigh the benefit. The machine's weight, roughly a ton, means you'll need a dedicated parking spot and a level surface to store it. Small businesses that operate in cramped spaces without room for a 2-meter-wide turning radius will find maneuvering a challenge, even though the controls are designed for easy steering. In those cases, a lighter manual jack or a fully electric stacker with a tighter turning circle might be a smarter purchase. Now, let's talk about the day-to-day experience of using this stacker. The first thing you notice is the simple and secure operation claim in the marketing copy, and it holds up. The control lever feels like a power window switch. Push forward to lift, pull back to lower, and a small foot pedal controls the forward and reverse travel. Because the lift is motor-assisted, you can raise a full 3,300 pounds pallet with a single, smooth motion instead of cranking a hydraulic pump. In practice, that means an operator can move a pallet from the ground to the top shelf in under a minute, even with a bulky load. The speed is not blisteringly fast, but the consistency is reliable. No surprise jerks or stalls that you sometimes encounter with cheaper electric models. Maneuverability is another practical strength. The stacker rolls on solid polyurethane wheels that roll quietly over concrete and can handle occasional bumps on a rough warehouse floor. When you need to turn a corner, the straddle legs pivot independently, allowing a tighter turn than a traditional forklift of similar capacity. I've seen operators navigate a 3.5-meter aisle with a pallet already perched on the forks, and they didn't have to reverse to reposition something that can save precious seconds during a busy shift. However, there are trade-offs you should be aware of before you click Add to Cart. The power source is a rechargeable battery pack that promises a full workday on a single charge, but the charge time is roughly 8 hours. That means you have to plan for a nightly recharge or keep a spare pack on hand if you run a 24-hour operation. The battery itself is not user-replaceable without tools, so any degradation over time will require a service visit. Also, while the stacker can lift to just over 8 feet, the height limit is fixed. If your shelving exceeds that, you'll need a separate solution for the highest levels. Another practical weakness is the lack of a built-in overload alarm. The machine's motor will simply stall if you exceed the 3,300 pounds rating, which can be confusing for new operators who might think the problem is a dead battery. The manual does warn you to stay within limits, but without an audible warning, you have to be diligent about checking pallet weight before you lift. In environments where multiple users share the same equipment, this can become a safety concern if training isn't thorough. Let's run through a concrete scenario. Imagine a small e-commerce fulfillment center.